if anything like me, you have some childhood friends who, as you've gotten older, you get disconnected. Things just drift apart, people drift apart, life happens, you go left, they go right. You do this thing, they do that thing, or they have these hobbies and they have those interests, and you're just like, as I've gotten older, I've kind of noticed that happen almost for all my acquaintances, stroke friends. There's a few people that I've stayed in touch with, maybe because of the effort that they give me, but there's also some people that when you try to rekindle or stay in touch, they try to go back to like the previous versions of themselves or of what they previously known you as. For example, like if anything like me and you're in the male demographic of autistic mofos, people that played games as a kid, right? Like for me, I had been so fixated on gaming as a kid, probably since I was like 2. I remember like GTA Vice City when I used to live in Spain as a kid. I remember like laying on the floor in like the big old grey tube TV, and I was playing on the PS2. I think PS2 straight PS1. Anyway, those times were great, but that like extended into other areas of my life as I got older because I used it as like a pillar for relationship building and friends, because like you'd have like your friends from school, like from primary into secondary and all the rest of it, where you would play video games after work, school, sorry, and on the weekends, because like you had a very joint and conduced hobby that can be basically like it's social, it's active with the mind and like your hands and like the hand-eye coordination thing, and it feels like you're working towards something. um and as you've gotten older, right, the people that you would have done it, let's say up to like 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, where you're, if you're in the UK, you're coming out to A levels, high school for you Americans, you're at that point where like you need to lock in. And I was locked in before then, like maybe from like 14, 15, and I was very cognizant of like the way work and life happens and the systems that be. Then also how like gaming is like such like a big detriment at times, or waste of time in the way you use it. If like that's all you do and you have no other hobbies or interests or passions, but then you also have a job, but you don't have any like investments that like can basically reap the rewards of the future. We've got a lot to talk about, and I will get to the initial point that I was kind of starting this this video with, but I'm trying to, we're getting there. Yeah, we're piecing the story. So as like you've kind of gone from 15, 16, you have to do your A levels in the UK, you're in high school, you're going through that point where like life is becoming a bit more like grounded and serious, because like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go to university, and I'm going to go to university, get a job, and I'm going to be part of the slave class that we all are. But like people use gaming as like the escape and like a thing where like it brings them closer to people and friends. um but maybe for myself, like that was a more of a social setting and a way to like survive and cope as I grew up. But as you get older, right, you start to realize like those people that you only kind of done that one thing with aren't always like the best for you. They're definitely not the best for you, but they're not your friends, because like their their sense of like doing something, an activity in the hobby, is basically sitting behind a screen for like hours and hours playing, but like not making any real progress within life. But they're making progress within the four corners of their screen. And where I'm trying to go with this is because I had a lot of friends that were like built around that foundation of like playing games. And we had like similar interests on those things. And as you get older, people can't cope with the fact that you become disassociated with that activity, because like they have such a sense of like self-worth or identity towards that thing. And a lot of the people I played with, like the acquaintances that they are now, are what we'd call like bronze tier gamers. They're like they're bronze rank. They don't play like the cool RPGs and all the rest of it where there's genuine story, but they're also just using that as like their only hobby, the thing they do outside of work. And it's just like I'm so far gone from that like existence in life where like I'll hop on my PC after work and I'll be doing like some like personal work, admin, now doing this channel, supporting stuff here, becoming more involved and actually trying to better my life in other areas. But I'll have Steam open and I could just see there's 10, 15 people from my like past where I'm like, you're still playing? Like that's what you're doing after work? Like is that what we do still as an adult? Like I'm definitely not doing that, but like you get to that point where you start to go, I don't have friends right now who matched my current trajectory and ambition. And the acquaintances that they are now, because I thought they were my friends, but they definitely aren't my friends, because friends have a particular way of treating you and being respectful. And I don't really have any friends besides my partner, really. Um, they they are just stuck here. And when you're in this in between phase of like trying to make something more for yourself, you need. I just don't have anyone like in this like phase. Like I'm trying to go here. People are here, and I'm doing this. And in that journey, I mean, it's called the lonely chapter for a reason. Like on social media, as you would be aware, but there's no there's no people who have like walked that same path that are like readily available to be friends. You have to kind of become that person, be that person before you are that person, right? I was talking about this with someone as well a while ago who I definitely class as a friend. Um, we were talking about how when you're going to go through these types of journeys or transformation pieces within your own life, you're not going to just turn up at that destination. You need to put the actions in to get there. You need to be the person that does what that person does so that you can become that person. I'll give you like the most obvious example, right? If you want to become fit in the gym, you can't think about it and not do anything about it. You're going to need to be in a calorie, you don't eat in a calorie surplus, you need to be in a calorie deficit. You need to go gym or do some cardio at home, do some weights, do some movement, do the things that basically the person here does to be who he is or she is. But you can't go from the person that's bottom left corner of the chart to the top right without doing the things that that journey requires, whether it's the good habits, staying committed, no cheating on your diet, eating healthy, no excess of drinking or drugs or anything else. Because these are all distractions of things that to be the person that needs to be here, the person that's here for like in myself, he needs to do those things when he's down here on that path. Because the person that's there doesn't just go straight up. That's just not the way it works. And why do I say this in relation to the gaming piece at the beginning? Because of how everyone kind of grows and develops and the relationships that you do or don't have, is because the people that are doing like these same tasks are expecting that activity that they're doing right now, which I would class as like inactive activity because it doesn't get you to where you want to go. They think that if they still do that old hobby or habit that doesn't drag them forward, that the other stuff they're doing, or they're going to just wish it into existence. And when I last checked, the world doesn't work that way. And it's so funny because this video is going to go all over the place just like every other video of mine. But so many of the things that we do are premeditated around the fact that we should almost be deserving of an outcome with very little or no input or no activity. The amount of people that go, oh, I wish I could be, under 10% body fat, be this weight, lift that strong of a weight, run this far, do that thing, do that sport. Yet they don't even do it. To do that sport at a high level, you need to do that sport at a low level and understand how hard it is to get there. I use jiu-jitsu as an example. I haven't trained in about 13 weeks since at the time of recording because I broke my toe, and I've been training very committed for like 3.5 years, going basically 3 times a week up to 4 times. It is like it's a very intensive and demanding sport on your body and your mindset. But like to get good, you have to be absolutely awful. You have to suck. You have to suck for about a year before you really break through. But no one can even commit themselves for a day 365 times in a row to break through. And for those people who are watching this and are still watching this because you like listening to me, yap, to really kind of like go back to the initial part of this whole conversation about like the people you're with and friends and stuff, and like they still associate themselves or they associate the version of you with a previous version of yourself with the things that you used to do together, is to really break out of that mold or find that next kind of left turn when everyone's gone right or everyone's gone backwards. You need to do the habits and the things that person here is already doing to get yourself there. You can't just magically wake up with a six pack and 10% body fat and big muscles and this and that. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen overnight if you do it for 365 days in a row, and you slowly get there and you slowly iterate and you slowly just, as much as it's cringe, I love it. It's the 1% every day. Like, get better by 1% every single day, and it just stacks up. Like, if I could, for example, give an investor a business model that I would say every day you're going to make 1% on your money, and that compound growth over the year, it will speak for itself, right? But because in like the kind of, I say the ethereal plane, but like in the real material world, people can't see the 1% progress because there's no metrics, or they don't see it because they can't see or feel it, and they don't think that there's like a immediate obvious response, answer, or outcome. They won't put in that 1% every single day to just slowly etch away and get there. There's a really famous statue of like the top half of the guy being a chiseled muscle, like absolute Greek demigod type thing, but the bottom is like him being fat, almost like that one Squidward episode of SpongeBob where he eats all the burgers, all the Krabby Patties, and he's like huge. It's like that bottom half versus like a chiseled six pack, all the rest of it up top. That is someone who's getting 1% better every day, and he's just chiseling away, because he is laser focused. It could be she as well. I don't care. We're humans. They're chiseling away at that progress every single day, whether it can be in your work, professional life, gym. It could be an investment that you're trying to do, and you're like, every single month I'm going to turn up for that investment. I'm going to put in the £100 a month into the S&P 500, so that when I'm 50, 60 years old, we're not guaranteed that time as well in life, but by the time we're there, I can retire, the market has grown, and I can retire with a sense of I've got a pot of money that will keep me going. People won't even want to do that for themselves, to be a better version of themselves, to feel better, to wake up feeling better than they did the day before. Like, we have so much to talk about on this channel, and like I literally don't know where this video started off now at times, but I know where it started off, around like the self, the sense of self and the identity that people give you because they have like a premonition of what they used to know you as. Because like, for example, the gaming thing, like that's just because it's more pertinent to my existence and experience, how like those types of people that were in those journeys as you've gone here and they've gone there, or however your life is, they still try to bring you back down to like that one grouped activity. But in reality, we've moved on from that, and we want to move on to the next iteration or that next version of ourselves. And if you're still watching, that's because you probably just liked me talking about this stuff for a long time, and I don't really care if you do like or subscribe, so I'm never going to beg or ask for it. But do genuinely think about the things that you're doing every day that you're doing to get better, to get 1% better, because the people that were like associated with you at a particular time in your life are going to bring you back to doing that same thing, because it's a group activity that kept you going. But if you actually find like yourself making progress, like my friend that talked about in the previous video, we talked about action and inaction actually being an action. He told me about his last 6-12 months journey of losing weight, and this year alone, it's been 7 months at the time of recording. He's lost about like 12 odd kilo, and when he told me his actual current weight, I was like, wow, because I couldn't imagine him at that weight, because he used to be like the big kid at school, and now he's about 68 kilos, he was telling me. And I genuinely was very proud, because I was like, that's someone who like put the habits together, these small wins stack up, and then he got here. And now he's just like, if I could do this and feel better, what happens when I like am this all the time because that's my lifestyle? And then what happens when I put that effort because I have the energy to go into the next thing? People are really always looking for fast, instant results. Probably because of this, probably because of social media, but people are looking for the results that happen overnight, that actually take years of work. So if I can impart any last wisdom with you, it's the fact that you're always going to be chasing something, but make sure you're chasing the progress for yourself, not for others. Do something that's for yourself. Make that 1% progress every day, and just etch away at it. Like, what have you got to lose? What? Making yourself better? Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.